I'm driving nearly every single type of Cupra you can buy. Now, Cupra is a new-ish brand here in Australia, and it's subsidiary to Volkswagen. And this whole brand is focused on being an emotional brand. And part of it is that they like making hot hatches. So we've got a couple of different flavors of hot hatches, a couple of different motors, and more importantly, we've got an SUV here with a $6,000 exhaust upgrade. Now I'm itching to get out from here onto the racetrack to show you how much performance you're getting for your money. So we're gonna start off on the most affordable Cupra Leon and move up to the most expensive, and then we're going to see if it's actually worth spending an extra $6,000 to put an exhaust system on a Cupra SUV. My name's Cameron, this is Product Review Cars, let's get into it. Now, since Cupra is a new brand, make sure you jump onto productreview.com.au because there you're going to find owners who have owned and lived with these cars and who have left a review for you to read. And if you own one of these, you can leave a review there as well to let everyone know what it was like to own a Cupra. Now let's start with the most affordable Cupra Leon you can buy. This is the little hot hatch and it only has 140 kilowatts and 320 newton meters of torque. So it's a decent amount of power, but this thing will only cost you just under $50,000. So it's the most affordable hot hatch out of Cupra's lineup. So let's see how much bang for buck you get out on track. Now we're starting off here in the Cupra Leon V, which is the most affordable Leon you can buy. And it's one of the most affordable Cupras you can get. But here on track, it's actually pretty playful. Now, it's not gonna set the fastest lap time, so just know that. You're not gonna get a big surprise by saying you spent the least but you got the fastest car. That's not the case here. This thing is going to be one of the slower cars today, but it is not a slow car by any means, thanks to that torque figure. Now, on social media, I posted a video on this car when I went to the launch of it, and people said it's only got 140 kilowatts of torque. Sorry, it's only got 140 kilowatts. It hasn't got that much power, and I go, that's fair to say. This thing doesn't have a huge amount of power, but that torque figure allows you to carry through some nice mid-range acceleration through big curves like this. And as you go through, you can get some nice pace and in very fun old school front wheel drive behavior. You also do get a bit of play on the rear, which is always very exciting in a car that didn't cost you an arm and a leg to attain. Now, the suspension setup is a bit more plush and the steering feels pretty good here too, but you sort of feel like you are in something that is probably better for the street than it is for the track. But that doesn't mean you can not take it to your local track day. You definitely can and have lots of fun in it. But we're only picking up about 125, 130 k's an hour here on this smaller straight here. And you're probably not going to see a huge amount of speed. You're not going to be the fastest car, but you probably will have some of the most fun in this playful little hot hatch. It's actually quite fun, but that torque figure is quite incredible. There's a lot of torque for a little hatchback like this. Now, there's your lap time from the lap I set earlier in this thing, and look, it's not going to be super quick, but it is, yeah, definitely one of the most fun Cupras you can buy. Now you're looking at the Golf GTI's Spanish cousin. This is the Cupra Leon VZ. It has 180 kilowatts, 370 newton meters of torque, and all that for under $58,000. So if you're looking for a bit more spice and also a mechanical limited slip differential on track, this might be the pick. You're gonna have to spend more money than the Cupra Leon V, but let's see if these upgrades actually make a big difference. Now, once you take your first corner in the Leon VZ, you immediately notice the mechanical limited slip differential working hard. It allows you to go faster through corners and make the most of more power under your bonnet that you have because you bought the Leon VZ. Now, going through corners was a lot more pleasant as well. This thing felt far more planted thanks to a stiffer setup compared to the Leon V, and it was just a far sharper car and something I felt far more comfortable in compared to the Leon V. Now, some people prefer the old hot hatch style feeling of the Leon V, but not me personally. I prefer a more planted and scalpel-like feeling in my hot hatch, and that's what you get with the Leon VZ compared to the Leon V. Now, also what I love is that you do get some very real sound out the back thanks to those very real exhausts, similar to the Golf GTI, and this thing is going to allow you to set faster lap times than the Leon V and the VZe because it's obviously lighter than a Leon VZe, but this thing, yeah, it doesn't really feel like I want more out of this car. You can obviously go aftermarket and change it to how you might like if you're going to the track more often than not, but I really think that this is a great middle ground between the Leon V and the VZx. But if you know you need more power and you've already exploited everything out of this car, or you've driven a Golf GTI for a long while and want more power, well, that's where the VZx steps in. But ultimately, I thought the Leon VZ was the most fun to drive. I really felt connected to the car a lot more, and it just wasn't overly fast, so you could really enjoy yourself, but also
it was really compliant through corners thanks to that mechanical limited slip diff up front. And so yeah, it was probably the most enjoyable car I drove all day.
Now this is the Cupra Leon VZe. It's not the most affordable. It's going to cost you just under $62,000 before on-road costs here in Australia, and the driveway price varies state by state because this is a plug-in hybrid. So it's part electric, part petrol, and the batteries are located at the rear. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing behaves out on track with that weight distribution. Now it pushes 180 kilowatts combined and 400 newton meters combined as well, but it does weigh more than the Cupra Leon VZ. So even though it's got more torque, it might slow down because of that extra weight, but it definitely drives really nice on the road. But let's see what it does on track.
I will be honest, the Leon VZe is the most interesting car here because it is a plug-in hybrid. It has the batteries at the back, so unlike a traditional front-wheel drive car, there is some weight over the rear wheels. So I was wondering how that would translate on track. As I got going, it was instantly quite fast thanks to that instant torque, but then I also noticed the very obvious sound generator that this thing has on board to give you more engine sound, because this is running a 1.4 litre, not the 2 litre engines that the other petrol cars are running. So it's got a smaller petrol motor, but it does have more torque than the Leon VZ. Even though we had instant torque available on board and also more torque than the Leon VZ, I couldn't close the gap between the Leon VZ and the VZe on track. I was trying to chase it down, but because of that extra weight we're carrying around, unfortunately, that extra torque didn't make a whole bunch of difference. But what was interesting is that that weight up the back meant the back was a bit more playful through corners on colder tires, but as we warmed up the tires, it allowed it to feel a little bit more planted as you entered corners. But as you sort of progressively got faster through a corner, the rear started to slide out just a little bit because of that weight over the rear axles. But I couldn't help but feel like I was driving a mini Porsche 918 because this thing is pretty entertaining with having that instant torque, and without the reference of a slightly faster car on track, you will have a ball having a plug-in hybrid that can actually manage a track day. And then if you're driving day to day, you can still drive on pure electric power. So I do have to hand to the Leon VZe that it was a very entertaining track day experience, but not something that I would pick if I was looking to set the fastest lap times.
And finally, you have the cream of the crop here, which is the Cupra Leon VZx. This thing is front-wheel drive, and it is the Volkswagen Golf GTI Club Sport's Spanish cousin. But we don't get that car here. Instead, we get the Cupra Leon VZx, which comes with 221 kilowatts of power and 400 newton meters of torque. So it's got the most power. It's going to be one of the lightest cars here because it doesn't have a battery pack on it. So let's see if spending just under $66,000 drive away is worth it if you want to go the fastest out on track. Now we're in the Cupra Leon VZx, which is the most powerful Leon you can buy and actually one of the more popular models out there. It gives you Golf R power in a front-wheel drive car, but let's see what it can do with launch control. So we can go launch control active. Oh, let's try that again. Launch control active, and 3, 2, 1. Woohoo! Just had to check that the track was clear, but there we go. That's a pretty grippy launch control system for a front-wheel drive car. Now, going through here, oh yeah, love this. I did say some expletives when I first drove this on track, and it is a very fast little hot hatch. I love a lot of power in my hot hatches, but this really is, yeah, a lot of power. You don't necessarily need all this power. So the VZ is perfect for most people. That's the Golf GTI powertrain, and that's going to be plenty. Honestly, that's a great middle ground between the V and this. But oh my gosh, yeah, if you want to go faster, this is the car to do it in. Now the Formentor, we gave it a brief drive to get a lap time earlier, and that thing was, yeah, pretty quick. But I do find that lacking an all-wheel drive system and just having front-wheel drive in this thing, it still performs really quite well. And honestly, you can hear the noises coming from this thing wild. This is one of my favorite hot hatches and one of the best bang for bucks you can get in terms of just outright performance. It's a European hot hatch that's actually not too expensive relative to its competitors for the price you're getting. But man, great for track days, great for just having a whole bunch of fun, but it probably will get you a lot of trouble out on the road. So if you want a faster sort of track car, then yeah, this would be the one I would pick out of all the Leons here today. It is just so much fun. But yes, there is a cost to pay for a more expensive and faster hot hatch. Now, you might not be able to convince your significant other or your family members to get into a hot hatch. So instead, Cupra have this to offer, which is a Cupra Formentor VZx. It has a little bit more power than that Leon VZx. It has 228 kilowatts and 400 newton meters of torque. This thing will cost you around $77,000, and it's more expensive because it has a $6,300 titanium exhaust upgrade. Now, that exhaust upgrade comes in the form of an Akrapovic exhaust. These guys make exhaust pipes for supercars, superbikes, and now you're gonna find it here on the Cupra Formentor. But now it's time to see if a louder and better sounding exhaust makes a difference out on track, and also does it help having all-wheel drive. Now we're driving your family-friendly Cupra performance car, which is the Cupra Formentor VZx. This is one of the last cars I'm driving today, and you've got a $6,300 exhaust system hanging off the back. So you've got to hear what that sounds like with launch control. You've got to go into Cupra mode or a sport mode. Now in 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah, there's a nice bit of torque shove between those shifts. Now this thing is quite a lot of fun. You are sitting higher up, but you have a nice long bonnet to sort of help you place the car. And you've also got an all-wheel drive system to help drag you out of corners. Now, as we dive through here, this car doesn't have the Brembo brake kit upgrade, which I would recommend if you're frequenting track days, but for a casual observer or a casual track day enthusiast, you don't really need that. Now, you can get really nice placement because you're sitting up a bit higher and you have a nice bit of balance, but what this car does suffer from is a bit of front wheel drive understeer. Well, it's all-wheel drive, but the front wheels do understeer just a little bit. So you do have a little bit of understeer on the edge, but then if you're just sort of halfway at the limit or getting close to the limit, you still have nice amounts of grip thanks to that all-wheel drive system. But as we get moving, the Akrapovic exhaust sounds really nice when you sort of put it under load, and it gives you a nice little exhaust fart between shifts, and oh my gosh, this is so fun. This is nowhere near being a boring family SUV. I mean, like, you sort of forget this is an SUV once you're in it because this thing performs. Now we're hitting 130 easy, nearly 140 down that small straight. And as we pivot into here, this is a lot of fun. And as we power out, it's good, but sometimes I just wish it just sort of had a bit more instantaneous pickup. But then once you get going, you go, oh my gosh, this thing is flying. And those brakes hook up pretty well. And there's a nice amount of balance when you brake heavily compared to those Cupra Leons, which are front wheel drive only. Now, that's a lot of fun. Here's the lap time that we did earlier, and this thing is quick. It's definitely closing as quick as the Cupra Leon, and in the right hands you could probably make this even quicker thanks to that all-wheel drive system. But in my casual driving experience, I was very close to the Cupra Leon time compared to the Formentor. Now, having an all-wheel drive system is a lot more fun if you're used to just needing a bit more grip, but then having front-wheel drive can be more beneficial because you get a lighter car, and also when you have a lower center of gravity thanks to the hatchback being lower to the ground, that can help too. But if you have to get an SUV and you've got the budget for something like this, then yes, it's absolutely worth jumping into one of these because it is so fun, and the performance characteristics of this are quite impressive. But yeah, if you're looking for the best handling car out of all these, I would still go with the Cupra Leon thanks to that lower center of gravity, but this still is far from being a big compromise if you need the extra storage, ride height, and a little bit more backseat space. Now, is it worth getting that $6,300 exhaust upgrade? Well, let's take a listen. If you like that, well, yeah, sure, go ahead and get it. And it's a great exhaust system, but it's not entirely necessary if that's what you're asking. All right, to say this was a pinch me moment would be an understatement. This was awesome. We had full access to the track to let you know what it's like to drive pretty much every single type of petrol motor you can get in a Cupra car. Now, the biggest shocker to me was just how well this performed. It's really quick, and if you really can't get into a Cupra Leon VZx and you have to get this, well, performance won't be an issue. Now, if you're gonna ask me what my pick of the range would be, I honestly think I'd be very happy with the VZ. I really liked how that felt, and if you want something just a bit more playful on track, the V is perfect for something like that. But if you want something a bit more precise to set some lap times and be a bit more competitive, then the VZ is the perfect starting point. Now, if you want more power, of course, you can go up to the VZx, but if you want something that is also good on fuel during the week, you can also jump into the VZe. But to be honest, the VZe is an okay track car. It's quite quick and actually a lot of fun, but that's going to be better suited for like back road driving, thanks to it being more planted, thanks to that big battery out back. Now, if you're asking me if it's worth spending over $6,000 for this exhaust upgrade here on the Cupra Formentor, that's up to you, but personally, I'd be tempted if I'm already spending this amount of money on a high spec performance SUV, because it sounds great and it looks good, and to be honest, that's just enough to convince me to spend $6,000 anyway. But yes, it is a pricey option, but it is worth it if that's what you want out of a Cupra Formentor. Now, thank you so much for watching. My name's Cameron, and this has been a pretty awesome track day. I want to know which car you would pick out of this lineup. Let me know down in the comments. Make sure you subscribe for more content like this, and follow us on TikTok and Instagram using the handle @ProductReviewCars to see more car content. I'll see you in the next one.